I want to do a quick recap of Bikini Prejudging because when I hit the replay for YouTube, there have been some audio issues. So, with that said, I'm still here at the expo. I'm outside of the actual expo itself, so I figured I'd give you guys a little bit of a rundown on what I saw. Essentially, what we talked about at the preview for Bikini is exactly what happened, right? So that second call out had Evie, Tamikia, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head who else, Octavia, the girl from Brazil, all the girls that we thought we were going to be in the second call out were in the second call out. That first call out was all the girls we thought we were going to be in that first call out, right? So we had Phoebe, Angelica, Vanya, Amy, Laura Lee, and Ellie, right? So top two are Amy and Laura Lee, pretty solid. Don't know which way it's going to go. Third, I think, is pretty solidly Vanya, which, again, I kind of predicted that too. I thought she was going to be in that third place position. Vanya looked great. Fourth, fifth, sixth are Angelica, Phoebe, and Ellie. I think Angelica's fourth, Phoebe's fifth, and Ellie's sixth. I could have flipped them any other way. But some quick notes on each of them. Ellie. Ellie looked great. Not a huge fan of the pink suit on her. It was a little bit too, like she had AB stones on there. It was too sparkly. It was too light. So I wasn't a huge fan of the pink on her. Her conditioning was pretty good, but her walk to the back was not great, and that actually kind of hindered her a little bit. I would have probably cut the walk to the back and not done it in the individual. We saw the glute squish when she did that. But other than that, it was a really solid package. So I thought that she looked pretty good, and I think she's probably in that sixth place position. Kind of mentioned that before when we talked about the preview. This is something where she could be in that potential zone, you know. Phoebe, I think, was close to 100%, but not quite. Phoebe still needs to come in a little bit tighter from the back. Fullness in her upper body and her balance looks a lot better, but again, she's just not quite sharp enough in the back pose. Again, front looks great, balance looks great, all those kinds of things. Presentation was great, all of that, but needs a little bit more in the back. Angelica looked pretty much how I thought she was going to look. She's a little bit too hard from the front, a little bit too soft from the back. Cuts in the quads, feathering in the quads, needs more size in her shoulders. And then she was loose in the glutes. But with that, she's still going to be in the fifth or fourth place position. These are all the same things that we saw with Angelica prior to when she went into her little hiatus, when she had her babies and all that kind of stuff. These are all the same things that we saw in her season. So it's not any kind of surprise, right? She looked pretty much how I thought she was going to look. Vanya, I think, was probably one of the best packages I've seen on her. I loved the suit on her. Sometimes her suit choices are a little bit meh. The suit was great. Overall presentation was great. Her balance from front to back was great. She carries a lot of muscle in her lower body, like in her quads and her calves. But she was able to condition it enough where she was in shape, but not too much. Like she didn't have the feathering in the quads that we saw from like Angelica, that kind of thing. So to me, Vanya is really kind of like the breakout star for this particular show. So I think she's solidly in third. Now, when we look at Laura Lee and Amy, they're very, very close. What I ended up doing is I ended up looking at who has the least amount of flaws. And to me, Amy has the least amount of flaws. Now, Laura Lee still looks phenomenal, but there's a few things that I noticed with her. She had some tanning issues on her glutes, just muddy, that kind of thing. There was some off-coloring on the glutes. Her upper glute is not that full versus Amy's is pretty full. Waistline. Laura Lee's always been a little bit ribby in her waistline. And then Amy has always had an issue with her waistline being a little bit thicker than it actually is. Amy didn't have that issue with this particular show. Her waistline was tight in a great way. No ribs, teeny tiny, great glute pop from the front and from the back. They were both on point with their conditioning. So when it comes down to it, I'm looking at the girl with the least amount of flaws, and that is Amy. But it's very, very close. I would be very surprised if it's more than like a point difference between the two of them, that kind of thing. And it may come down to what happens tonight, too. They may end up going in and prejudging tonight. If they do, it could go either way. So the two of them really got to stay on point because they both kind of work. If I had to pick somebody right now, I would pick Amy, but by a very, very slim margin. So it's going to be an interesting finals, to say the least, this evening. Sorry about the audio issues earlier. Hopefully this is a little bit better. So this will give you a little bit more of a recap for you. When I go live tonight, I'm not going to actually go live in the venue. I'm going to do Instagram stories, and I'll give you guys a little bit of commentary on what I see from the press pit. And, you know, just like I did with Wellness last night, so you can get a better idea of their looks this evening. Let you know if they changed anything, if they look better, if they look worse, all those kinds of things, and then we'll see who ends up taking it. So hope you guys had a fantastic day so far. It's been crazy here. I had to come outside of the expo because it's just nuts inside. So yeah, it's a little bit calmer out here. Hopefully you guys can hear me better out here. Sorry for the audio issues. Those that were on live had no issues. I had people commenting in and stuff, but it looks like the replay had some issues. So hopefully this is enough to give you my 2 cents, and we'll see what happens tonight. See you there.